Hi, hello, welcome to another video. I haven't done a video like this in a long time. This is going to be an individual book review, and I know that it's probably not going to be a super popular opinion, so please don't hurt me. But this is a review for Jade City by Fonda Lee, which is the first book in the Green Bones saga. I heard a lot about this book and the whole trilogy in general. I know that it has a lot of praise, a lot of people really like it, a lot of people think it's very amazing, and I agree, but also I disagree. So I rated this book 3 stars. Jade City is a fantasy book that is set in a world, well, it's set on an island called Kakan, and this book takes place in the capital city of Janloon. It follows primarily one family that's like a gangster mafia type of family called the Call family, and there is another family as well. I totally forgot the name of the other family. Okay, yeah. The other family is nicknamed the Mountain, and basically the premise is that the island of Kakan was at war. It was trying to gain independence from the other countries that are, I guess, in other places. You can't see them in the map, it just shows you the island. But they succeeded in the war by founding this big family, I guess, that was called it was just one big clan or one big rebellion, right? And then that rebellion split into 2 families where you have the Call family and then the Mountain. And is that what they were called? No, they were called the No Peaks and the Mountain. So, which is kind of confusing. The names in this book are a little weird at times. You kind of just have to get over it. But this book primarily follows the Call family. The Call family comprises of a grandfather who is slowly going senile, a older son, or grandson rather, who is the head of the family now, and he's quite young, and then the middle brother called Hilo, and he is what they call the Fist. Was it the Fist? No, it wasn't called the Fist. Wow, I'm really having a hard time remembering the details of this. My bad. You know what? It doesn't matter. I don't need to go into every single tiny detail. But anyways, and then you have the younger sister who she kind of just left, I guess. She sort of betrayed them in a way. And yeah, it's a lot of family drama and a lot of politics and a lot of just world building. So my favorite part in the book was definitely the world. It was the fact that you get so much of it. You get these legends and lore, the religion that is, you know, primarily practiced, and the kind of how these families, the No Peaks and the Mountain, which they have people called green bones, they will sometimes compare themselves, or at least, you know, follow the legends of heroes and gods or whatever. It's very intricate, it's very cool. Then there's also the economic side. Now the economic side also has to do with the magic. The magic is jade. Jade is mind, and it is carried by certain people, but it takes a lot of training in order to master the jade, and there are different types of techniques that you learn, such as I guess one would be called deflecting, where I guess they're getting shot at, then they can deflect the bullets. There's also just general strength, things like that. The thing is, you do have to be genetically predisposed to use jade, and it is very rare for people who do not have the genes to be able to use jade. You can actually go insane from using it. You can get what they call the itches. Essentially, it's almost like a drug, and for some people, they actually have to supplement themselves with another drug in order to sustain their sanity while using jade, which that is a super cool concept. So jade is mined solely on the island of Kakan. So it is used there, and other countries outside, they receive exports of it, and the people who sell it are the Mountain and the No Peak clans. But, you know, they are conflicting with each other because they have to share the trade. And, you know, obviously when new people come to power, because these clans were founded a long time ago and then they split off, and the main founders, they died off, and now there's new successors. Well, with new successors comes power differentials, comes ambition. So now there is trouble abrew. And here is kind of where the book fell off for me. The reason why I gave it 3 stars and not absolutely loved it. And it's because a lot of this book was, again, politics. And when you have very political heavy books, for me anyways, it's really important to have characters that I really love. Now, I'm not saying that these characters weren't good. They were. They were very good. I personally just couldn't, I couldn't connect with them. I couldn't really care much for them, even though there were so many opportunities to do that. For example, the leader of the No Peaks, the older brother, the older grandson, he was very, you know, level-headed, very think first before you act, very capable of being cold and yet kind at the same time. They oftentimes referred to him as a great peace leader, which I agree. And then there was his brother, Hilo, who he's kind of like his right-hand man. Him, I was so ready to have this like really brash, really just, you know, I don't give a fuck about the consequences type of guy, resolves stuff with violence, but is also surprisingly very crafty. And he was, but I oftentimes felt like I wasn't getting enough of it. I wasn't getting enough of the small details that contribute to a person's character in a book. So really that for me kind of brought it down, where I didn't feel like I could really connect with them. Now, I'm not saying that the author didn't write it well enough for you to be able to have that. I just think for me, the way the author wrote these characters just didn't work. Again, I really want to stress the fact that this is my opinion and that I do think that this book is very good. It just somehow didn't work for me, and that happens sometimes. Another thing that didn't work for me was plot. Primarily plot progression and like pacing. I understood that the main premise of this is that there is a change in power and a change thus in economics, and there is a type of war going on, and you know, it got there, but it took so freaking long. And I'm not saying I enjoy slow-paced books, you know, depending on the book, but I don't hate slow-paced books, and I don't necessarily think that this book was slow, but I do think that it focused sometimes on things where I was like, I don't really think we need to focus on that. It did a lot of world building, a lot of info dumping, which again, the world was one of my favorite things, but it did focus a little too much on it at times. And there were a lot of times where we were being told what a character was like Hilo, for example. Everyone was like, oh, he's monstrous and whatever. And I was like, I'm not really being shown that he's monstrous. Y'all are talking about how, you know, aggressive he is and how, oh, he's just always picking fights and stuff. And I'm like, okay, but that doesn't mean he's monstrous, especially not in your guys' culture where fighting is basically how you solve everything. So anyways, I had some issues with the info dumping and the, you know, telling, not so much showing. And, you know, the whole book, ultimately, with the pacing and the way it was, it felt like a very big introduction. Like one massive, God, how many pages was this? Almost 500 page just intro of this is a setup for what's going to happen. All this to say, though, that clearly I know that there is potential for this book, and I have been told that the first book is not necessarily the best, and that the second book is actually a lot better. So I do have the 2 other books. I do intend to read the rest of them, and when I get through all of it, I'll probably do like a whole review of the whole series and talk more about it. And, you know, I'm really hoping that I will like it, because again, so many things to like in it. I just didn't vibe fully with all of it. Now I want to just talk about a few spoilers, which is really just for people who read the book and maybe want to have my reaction to some things that happen in the book. So from this point on, if you don't want to know any pretty major spoilers, then I would recommend to skip to the end or just to click off and do whatever the hell you want. So the first thing is, what's his name? I keep forgetting everyone's names. The Pillar, Lan. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce everyone's names, but Lan, or Lon, whatever his name is, the Pillar. I genuinely did not expect him to die the way that he did. And I think that that death was pretty fucking tragic. And I wish that it had hit me harder. But again, because I did have some issues, or not issues, but I couldn't really connect very much with the characters, I wasn't too affected by it. But nonetheless, I recognize that the way he died, holy fucking shit. Oh my gosh, this man was suffering essentially from withdrawal symptoms, and he was practically crippled, and he was trying to make the right move, but god damn it, every move he made, I was like, no dude, no, that's not a good idea. You have stuff in your system that you're not processing well, you're trying to take on too much, and it's not working out. And sure enough, it fucking bit him in the ass. And when he fell in the water, when it said that he fell into the river and everything went black, I was like, oh, they'll probably just find him and he'll be fine. And then it literally was like, time to schedule a funeral. I was like, what? We're scheduling a funeral? He's dead? Oh my gosh. So that was interesting to me. And then the rise to power of Hilo, it made sense, obviously, because he's the next one in line. And the fact that they did keep with his character, sort of like, you know, where he's kind of brash and just, you know, he's not going to change who he is to be the pillar, and the struggle that he has of passing on the duties of, God, I keep forgetting, it's not a fist. What does he do? Horn. The horn. The fact that he had to pass on the horn duties, and he also kind of has a hard time moving on from that. Like, that made sense. And then the sister coming in, like, it also made sense. And yes, everyone died and they all feel like they have a duty to, like, fulfill and all that. But I will say that the sister, I totally forgot her name again. I'm forgetting everyone's names. Shay coming back, you know, that whole her wanting to not be involved, and then she just gets involved again. Like, yes, I know that it was going in that direction because she really has nothing else to really keep her connected to people. Like, she came back for her family. She was eventually going to go back to her family. I don't know. It just, sometimes I was like, it felt like you didn't hold to your opinions, I guess, very strongly. But again, yeah, all of this was kind of just iffy for me at that point, where everything kind of moved and altered to those things. And I was like, okay.
It made sense, but it also made no sense, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and then I don't think there was any... Oh, yes. When Hilo and Andy go to face the mountain horn, that shit was also kind of cool. And that, I think, that moment was probably the only moment that I understood what they meant by Hilo being a beast, a monster, is how much jade he carries on him and is somehow fine. Like, that part definitely highlighted it, and the fact that it was around the end was a little disappointing to me, because I'm just like, this is where we see it. But the move that they pulled off, wow, I was impressed. I was pretty impressed, which is why, again, I am interested in continuing the series, because I could see it getting better since the setup has all been done. But the fact that it was like 500 pages of setup, it was just a lot for me. I did feel like I skimmed through some stuff, especially, here's something I'll say, I feel like there could have been more banter, more dialogue. I do feel like the majority of this book was a lot of just descriptions, a lot of information, and the dialogues that did happen, they felt kind of dry. I don't know, I felt like I could have gotten a little bit of more of a something to get me more connected to the characters. Anywho's, that's it. That's all I'm gonna say on that. I don't want to talk too long about it because it is just one book, but let me know what you think. Most people really, really enjoy the whole trilogy. I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about just Jade City. The only people I have seen is like on Instagram. I've seen some people give it like 4.5 stars or 4 stars and say like, oh, it's good. I had a lot of people tell me that the first book is kind of hard to get through, but they still rate it 4 stars. So I'm like, I couldn't really give it all that because I did skim quite a bit of it. But anyways, if you have read the first book, please let me know what you think or what you thought of it. And then also, I don't know, should I, with the way that I felt about the first book, am I gonna like the second book? What do you think? That's it for me today. I will see you in the next one. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!
Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is